And we're live. Hello, Dale.
Hey, how you doing?
Dale, absolute pleasure to have you with us, mate.
Thank you.
Been meaning to talk to you for a long time, and I'll start the whole podcast out just by saying a huge thank you from a bloke in his probably late 20s who found himself thrust into the Microsoft project world. And your books, along with Gary Chavez, really helped light the way. So
that's nice.
There's a heart thanks right there.
Appreciate it.
I may buy you one day as a result. That's a very
okay.
I won't expect a shout back.
Yeah.
So, Dale, you've obviously been in the MS project world and project server for a long time. Do you want to just give us some highlights of your early career?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I've actually been doing this now for almost 30 years. Started with Microsoft Project version 4.0 for Windows 95. In the year 2000, Project Central came out. That was actually given away for free on the Project 2000 installation CD. So that tells you how far back that goes. And so I mastered Project Central, and then along the way, I've co-authored 23 books on Microsoft Project Server, Project Online. Also currently one of 11 Microsoft Project MVPs in the entire world. I've been an MVP now for 21 years consecutively. So there's a few highlights. Is that good enough?
Well, it's a good start. How about that? So
yes,
you started,
sure.
you were in the MS Project Experts company?
Yes.
Yeah. And was that your starting point for Project Server?
Well, interestingly enough, the very beginning with Microsoft Project was with a company in Kansas City, Missouri called Farmland Industries, where I taught an occasional Microsoft Project class for, I maybe taught it over 3 years, maybe 5 or 6 times total. But then a company in Denver hired me to become a full-time Microsoft Project trainer and consultant. Did that for a couple of years till they basically traveled me to death. I was traveling 6 days a week after week after week. So I took a year off and just became an independent consultant during that time. But at the end of the year, I was running out of customers and I needed a job. And at that time, Gary Chavez found me by the answers I was giving to people in the Microsoft Project and Project Server user forums on the internet. And he liked the way I wrote answers. He said, Dale, you write your answers like a recipe and anybody could follow them. And when he wanted to hire his first employee, he hired me. And I was with MS Project Experts then for 10 years.
Right. It's a long time in any industry.
It is. I think. In this industry, it is a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that company comes with such a sticky end, but never mind. Yeah. Great.
The way it goes.
Yeah. So just in terms of your books, because you are a prolific writer, and shifting over to the blog space now, well, the YouTube channel. What do you think was your best book, and what are you told is your best book?
Quite honestly, I think the best book was probably the most challenging book, which was what we called the Blue Book, which was Managing Enterprise Projects using Project Server 2007. And the reason it was the best book, but also the hardest book, is that Microsoft redesigned the architecture of everything, going from version 2003 to version 2007. So the 2003 books that we had done, we couldn't reuse a bunch of the text. Basically, it was a do-over. And what Gary and I somehow managed to do between the two of us is in a 5-month period, we were able to crank out about 1,800 plus pages of content in the book. One was for project managers and the other was for project server administrators. So the best book, I think, was the hardest one of all. And after that, it actually got easier, if you can believe that.
Well, one thing I do know, I don't know if you had early access to the product,
but we did. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because your books would be out very timely.
That's right. Yeah, we had beta access, which actually really helped Microsoft, I think, as much as it helped us, because we became the leading bug reporting engine to the product team. And at the project conference that was the next year after our 2007 books came out, a member of the product team was actually sent to come talk to Gary and I on behalf of the team and to thank us for reporting so many bugs. So go figure.
Well, they got a free Q&A, right? Like,
yes, they got free Q&A, absolutely. But some of the people didn't like it at Microsoft because we reported the bugs in our books. And we told them, they said, well, we're going to do a second edition. If you fix the bugs, we'll take the notes out about the bugs. We'll buy, a year later, we did a second edition and almost all the bug notes disappeared from the book. So it was good, but we felt loyalty to our customers, not to Microsoft. So our customers needed to know about the bugs. We told them.
Hats off to you both, because that's sort of what would you call it? Putting the pressure on is a good idea on Microsoft at every stage.
Yep.
As an old MCSE before getting to this racket, we always said never take a Microsoft product before the first service pack. It's just nonsense. You're going to kill yourself.
I actually told an MPUG meeting that one night with a Microsoft SSP standing in the back of the room. Oh, she was not happy with me. But I told her, I said, listen, my loyalty is to my customers. It's not to Microsoft. And but she said, Dale, if you keep telling people wait for Service Pack 1, and she said, I need to make a living now. I need people to buy licenses now. So I understood, where she was coming from.
But it was a well-known thing. I think they improved immensely. Like they don't do crappy releases per se. I mean, we'll talk about for the web soon.
Oh, yeah.
They had that period, and they've still got it with Power BI, for instance, where they do early release for people that want to use it, and then do a full release. So I think their online offerings are probably better in general. Yeah,
I think they are too. Yeah.
But
And as an MVP, I do kind of get a private pipeline to the product team, so I can report a bug that is coming up in the user community and get somebody jumping on it, pretty quickly, where others, can't do it quite that easily. So
we just complain.
Do what I can
on the day. Yeah, we just complain amongst
that's it.
Which is fun.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a techie thing, no matter what you're working on, right?
Sure.
So what you been up to recently? Because I'm following you on LinkedIn.
And sure. Yeah.
With your YouTube channel, which I highly suggest everyone goes and has a look at, and will be in the links below, as they say. You are, I think, providing one of the best services for Microsoft project users at the moment. So
oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. You're putting in the effort, which we see from others as well. But I think in particular, and I find this a little bit when I talk about MS Project, right? A lot of people, especially those Primavera users and, even others, tend to look down their nose a bit at MS Project.
Well, they do. They do.
Yeah.
They call it a toy. Yeah, they call it a toy.
Yeah. And at the same time, I can't tell you the number of times I've been on a client site and I show people how I want MS Project to be used, because typically I'm in the PMO and I'm going out to the PMs and saying, hey, we need to report this, therefore you need to do this inside MS Project. So it's a long way to get around to say, what do you think are the most important lessons you can teach people about MS Project?
Well, probably the best lesson I could ever teach anybody about Microsoft Project is it looks like Excel, it feels like Excel, it acts like Excel, but don't use it like Excel. What I mean is, don't type start and finish dates, enter duration values, link tasks with dependencies, build a structure that helps you to see a full critical path, add resources to your tasks and try to add them realistically. So if I had a resource named Mickey Cobb and I knew she was only needed to work on a task a couple hours a day, I would need to assign her at a units value of 25% to be a realistic assignment. And then the other thing I would tell people is save a baseline. You got to do that, and then begin entering progress. I've actually known companies, clients of mine, that plan the project and then they stop using the tool. And it's like, no, you're only halfway there. Enter progress, reschedule incomplete work, then analyze variance. Are you behind schedule? If so, how bad? It's those kind of things. Even though it looks like Excel, it isn't Excel. And I can't even imagine. I started out with Excel. I love the tool, but it's not a project management tool. It's a calculation engine, but it's not a project management tool. It's a Microsoft Project is.
So my view on Excel is it's a workaround situation. People are using Excel. It's not a corporate system to support them. So one of my great joys is finding out all those Excel spreadsheets that you can actually rip away from people and put into, say, Project Server, or
sure.
report.
And then we let Microsoft Project do its job, which is to calculate the schedule, and let it tell us the bad news or the good news, if there is any news about our project schedule. And only then can we make intelligent decisions about how do we respond. Yeah.
And I think where the training comes in is PMs. I don't know what it's like in the US, but and different sectors are different. So engineers care about the amount of time it takes for widgets to get produced and that sort of thing. But
they do.
Yeah, there's a fair swath of people in particularly in government where I work a lot. They're accidental PMs. They think the idea of being a project manager is to record their risks, deal with day-to-day issues, and everything else to sort of look after themselves. And when you start asking them to forecast, you feel like you're asking them to write, give away their firstborn with a form they've signed and signed in blood.
And if you really want to put the fear of God in somebody, tell the project manager you need to save a baseline before you start entering progress. and people will go gulp. They're going to hold me to that schedule. And it's like, well, yeah, that's the schedule you came up with. Is this the best, you can do? But baselines are how we learn and grow, basically. It's how we learn and grow.
Yeah. Ideally, the baseline should form the budget in the first place.
Sure, yeah.
So how people try and escape the baselining is beyond me. But again, I think it just comes down to that. And I think maybe it's twofold. One is they don't want to be held accountable, and two, and this is where your stuff is so valuable, is they don't understand fundamentally how scheduling works. Just
Agreed.
In terms of mechanics. So, as I said, I'll put Dale's link to his YouTube channel below. If anyone and wants to get good advice or promote it throughout your company for better scheduling, it's definitely a place to do. Now,
cool. Love it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem at all. Let's talk about the current situation of Microsoft Project and Project Online. So within Microsoft, I believe at the moment there's a push to move to Project for the Web and Planner and everything that is Power Platform, right?
That's correct.
I like Power Platform. It's very extensible. It sort of reminds me of some of those what's the old IBM system that took off in a big way because it's sort of like the old Access database. Anyone can build one and have a fairly powerful tool that ran on their desktop, but it's more a shareable app building low code solution for the enterprising person that wants to help their organization. Double-edged sword, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But what Microsoft have done with Project for the Web, in my opinion, is they've released something that's just simply not ready.
I would agree.
And they've advised current users of Project for the Web and Project Server that they need to move to it. So, what do you think is the gap between those products?
The gap right now is just absolutely gigantic between Project Online and Project for the Web. Just a real simple feature that's missing in Project for the Web is the ability to save a baseline for every task in the project. And to extend that a little further, the ability to compare the current schedule with the original baseline schedule to see variance. That's been built into Microsoft Project since the dawn of time, but it's not in Project for the Web. You can only save a single baseline, and it's for the project as a whole. And then there we go. See? So I just
too, Dale, I should mention, I think that single baseline feature was released about 5-6 months ago.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. And we're now December 2024. Yeah.
That's right.
It's still at a singular baseline.
Yeah. And this has been 5 years. This tool has been out like 5 years now. I used to refer to it as the new project management tool, but 5 years later, I don't think it's new anymore. And I think the thing that drives people crazy is the development of Project for the Web. The new features have come out in a drip, drip, drip pattern. It's too slow. The development is too slow. And if Microsoft, and I don't mean this to be mean to Microsoft, but if they think that the world is going to leave Project Online and go to Project for the Web, at their current rate of development, it's going to be at least 20 years before Project for the Web would be robust enough for most people, most companies. You cannot do master projects, for example. Well, a number of my clients are heavy users of master projects and integrated project schedules. If you can't do that with Project for the Web, then the company is not going to move. So
yeah,
that's what I think is the current state. Yeah.
I think there's some admission to this and some relief in the subscription license model. Yeah, but I don't know. And also there's quite a number of enterprising companies that have created that sort of filled the gap. So I spoke with Eric from Projectum. They've filled a lot of the gaps with their product over the top. I know in Australia there's a number that have done a similar thing. There's one plan that sort of left the platform but done a pretty good product. So I guess maybe the best we can hope for is one of these fill the gap guys gets their product bought, and we just get a sudden uplift of capability for the web.
There we go. Somebody else did all the work, wrote all the code. Microsoft buys it, makes it their own. And I mean, that's happened before. Microsoft Project, I understand, the version for DOS was actually purchased from some other company that had written it originally. I can tell you that Visio, which I just love Visio, they bought that. Microsoft bought Visio from another company. So they're smart enough to know when a competitor creates something pretty good. So it's pretty easy just to buy it and make it. Whoops.
Yeah. Oh, you're breaking up a little bit, mate. Might just wait till you come back. There we are. So I think it's unfortunate that Microsoft put themselves in this situation.
Okay, but, looks like we're back. Yep.
Yeah, cool. I was just saying, I think it's unfortunate that Microsoft have put themselves in this situation. And whether they realized that they had a fully fledged product.
Connection problems or something here.
Oh, okay, mate. Can you hear me all right now?
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you, but your video is somewhat distorted. I'll cut this.
Yeah. You know what? Should we? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It looks like we're good again now. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'm using Starlink, so my connection is usually pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hey, it could be me for all I know. I was teaching a class last week. 30 minutes before the class was supposed to end, I lost internet for 15 minutes. Well, that pretty well wrecked the end of class. So, God darn it.
That's what you call an early mark, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But, you know, Project for the Web, it's got a long ways to go. That's all I can say. And I'm just glad that a year ago at the Ignite conference that Microsoft told the world that Project Online and Microsoft Project are not going away anytime soon. They put it in writing in a blog post article. They put it in a video and announced to the world. So, you know, that lets us Project Online and Microsoft Project users keep doing our thing and using powerful tools.
Well, it does, but at the same time, and I won't name names, but I do know that there's a lot of Microsoft partners who are using the shift to push their own product to an extent. You know,
sure.
So they've and I understand it. They've spent time, money, and resources to fill the gap, right?
Yeah.
So they want to return, and they want to get people moved onto their platform.
Sure.
So there's a big danger I see there where if Microsoft does get its act together, that some clients might be locked onto a different. It's almost like a fork, like a open source fork, where you're deciding to go with this fork rather than that fork. Pardon me, I'll use that term instead.
Yeah.
And Microsoft's saying you got to move to the new platform. The vendor's doing the right thing, I think, by saying, hey, well, it's not ready, but we've developed it to be ready. Yeah. So if Microsoft, say, buys one of the other potential solutions, then really the guy that went with the unsuccessful development is stuck in a.
That's right. That's right.
It's a non-Microsoft product. So
That's
it'll be
it.
interesting to see how that works out.
I'm just hoping I make it to retirement before something like that happens. Because, I love what I'm doing. I'm 71 years old, for heaven's sakes. I'm still working full time, have a lot of fun with the YouTube videos, doing training for my clients. I work with a business partner, Tony Proctor is his name. Him and me do project online implementations for clients. So, it all keeps me busy at age 71, and then let's see how long the show lasts. We'll have to see.
71 years old, mate. That's all right. That's not old yet.
Yeah. Hey, where do you think I got all this white hair? That's from Microsoft Project, I'll tell you.
I tell you, you've still got some though. That's the key.
Yeah, I do have a little anyway. Yeah.
And it's interesting because when I've been in the Australian Department of Defence, and there's no online stuff. So for me, it's been a little bit of a surprise to come back into the wider market space of what I would consider the project portfolio management systems, and see this unfolding. So I find it difficult to defend Microsoft with their current approach. And by the way, Dale, for a lot of times I run into Primavera users, right? And the first thing they like to say to me is, how many baselines does project support? Right? And you know the answer. It's 10.
11. Yep.
11.
10 numbers
0
plus baseline 0. Yep.
Yeah. So they gleefully tell me that there's no limit to the number of baselines that they can manage in Primavera. So the only thing I always fall back to is, well, you don't have a collaboration tool, so bugger off, right? So that mix of SharePoint and project and using reporting services to generate the views, the consolidated views. That took a long time for Microsoft to get it together. And I have a love-hate relationship with Power BI. It took away a lot of the stuff I love to do in SQL for reporting in terms of performance and everything else. But at the same, it has a lot of visuals that we didn't have in the old SSRS days, right? So
sure,
really give and take. So I for one, I'm just disappointed they blew it all up, or tried to blow it all up and then had to walk back. But they haven't really walked back because they're still going down the project for the web space. Now I'm happy for them to correct me and say I'm wrong and give me the reasons why my pessimism's unwarranted. And I don't want to dwell on it too much because, as you said, Project Online and Project Server, they don't really have a horizon that we were initially told. So that's good.
It is. Yeah. Well, I remember when Project for the Web was introduced, and Microsoft very explicitly said that this is a tool that's designed for small, simple projects, and it's meant to be used by people who may have little or no experience with project management and who may have little or no formal training with project management. And that was how it was introduced. And so in the very beginning, we had a very, very low-end task planning tool called Planner. And then we have a low-end project management tool called Project for the Web. But then somehow those worlds started merging and the expectations grew. And now we've got Planner Premium, which is in Teams. So now there's the combination of Planner plus Project for the Web. And now just releasing is Planner for the Web, which is Planner Premium web-based. And now we've gone to 4 tools. And this just creates confusion in the user community. And when I answer questions in the public user forums, people will say, I've got a question about Microsoft Project. And what they actually mean is either Planner Premium or Project for the Web. And I have to sometimes read between the lines. I have to look at a screenshot, to see what they're doing to determine exactly what tool they're using, because they don't know exactly what tool they're using. So that level of confusion, I just don't think it helps anybody. And believe me, it's way above my pay grade to solve that. So,
and even though they're still supporting Project Online nominally, they're not continuing development on top of that platform. So there's still some stuff in Project Online that I do, especially the OData model. OData model. A bunch of my reports don't work with the OData model. I lose function. But they're freezing the Project Online projects out of that space. Whereas originally they'd say, okay, here's your Planner stuff and here's your Project Online stuff. And that's just like dissipating. So I sort of understand Microsoft. Maybe they've looked at the market share that Monday.com or Smartsheet or whatever these sort of tasking solutions were eating their lunch, and they've said, well, we need one to combat that. But then why not make a I don't want to say low value solution, but just something that just hangs out of tasks. Like they've taken tasks from Outlook and they're starting to use them, which I think is a good idea. Yeah. I've always thought tasks are underutilized because it's in Exchange already. So use them.
Sure. Yeah.
And if
I can tell you
better.
I can tell you 3 years ago, I was so demoralized that I was preparing to transition to become a Smartsheet consultant. And the reason was I studied Smartsheet in depth, and I was convinced that it just slaughtered Project for the Web. I mean, basically, a lot of the functionality that was there was things that weren't in Project for the Web and we're waiting for. And this gentleman, Tony Proctor, who's now he and I are informal business partners with one another. He talked me out of going the Smartsheet way. And he said, Dale, people don't know you in the Smartsheet world. He said, they know you in the Microsoft Project world. Why don't you just stick with it? And so he talked me out of it. I was a week away from taking the Smartsheet exams and becoming a Smartsheet consultant. So anyway, I was so relieved a little over a year ago to hear Microsoft Project's not going away, Project Online's not going away, but I really wish Microsoft would pour some money back into further developing those tools. There's more things that can be done with Microsoft Project and with Project Online. I just wish they'd throw some money at those tools as well.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Well, I agree. I can understand why they went to Project Online, and part of their 365 strategy, I think, was to lock down the licensing. Like the licensing for those guys now is you press a button and we charge you, and so there's no more license fudging or mistakes by organizations. Right. You know, like it's like people start to care when someone leaves and to reallocate their license appropriately and all those sort of things.
Sure, yeah.
So I get that. I'm sure that increased their revenue manyfold. Just that simple strategy of saying, guess what? We're managing all your users online and we see everything. We know everything. You know, so you see the commercial aspect to that. I guess the strategy to move everything to the Power Platform, I can also understand. Singular platform, easier to manage, all the devs on the same page, sort of thing. I just think their execution, as you mentioned, has just been absolutely rubbish.
Yeah, it's created confusion in the marketplace, which doesn't benefit anybody at all. So, yeah. Can I say?
No, I think we've said enough on Microsoft.
I think we have. Yeah. We beat that dead horse even deader than it already was.
I could just imagine some people watching it going, yeah, they deserve more. Keep going.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, you know, when I teach a class, one of the things that I really try to do is when there's features in Microsoft Project or in Project Online that I really like, I gush with how much I like them. And I tell people, these are cool. This is really cool. And by really cool, I mean really useful. So, you know, I don't hesitate to hold back in my support of things that Microsoft has done. But when there's features I don't like or things that, you know, just make it harder for the user, I don't hesitate to say that either. And I try to give my students like an even-handed, you know, feel for the tool. It's a great tool, but it's not a perfect tool.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, the tool, the on-desk tool, is still great. Like, I think it's really good. There's some stuff there that I think Primavera does better, but then again, it's a price point, right? Like if you want a premium thing, you pay premium price. My criticism is the huge regression Project in the web represents. So, just in case no one understands what it's mean. That's
right. Yeah. Well, let me give you, we briefly mentioned Gary Sheffitz, who was the founder of MS Project Experts and who hired me and gave me a 10-year career. Back a number of years ago, there was a project conference that was organized by MHUG and by the Microsoft SSP in the San Francisco Bay Area. And that was that conference was on a Friday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they brought me in to teach a certification class on Microsoft Project Desktop. So I spent 3 days at the Microsoft headquarters in the financial district doing this class. Great class, love the people. And then on Friday, Gary Sheffitz was the featured guest speaker for that little mini project conference. And Gary said, I think the most poignant words, which Microsoft should have paid him millions of dollars for saying this. He said, I think we should all thank Microsoft for making a project management tool that is affordable for the masses. And what he meant was Microsoft Project. For under $1,000, you've got a high-end, full-featured project management tool that can handle the most complex of individual and master projects. And everybody in the room, we all clapped, and the Microsoft SSP, he was beaming from ear to ear, to hear Gary say that. But Gary spoke the truth. Microsoft did make that tool, affordable for the masses.
Yeah. I can't disagree. But so one thing moving subjects. One thing I'll say, I'm tremendously jealous of you at the moment. I think you're living your best life in terms of all the work you're doing. Because I follow on LinkedIn, and I see you sending pictures from these towns where you're visiting, and I am a country boy at heart. I don't like living in cities. So I do most of my work in Canberra, and we call it the bush. We call it the bush capital, right? And it's because it's really just a big country town. And if I could do what you're doing at the moment, which is moving around town to town doing that training, I would love it. So again, we'll put a plug or a contact email.
Sure.
For anyone that wants to see this video that wants that training done. But how are you enjoying it at the moment? Your stage of your career at the moment?
It's interesting for other than that 1 year, before I joined the MS Project Experts, this has been the first time in my life where I've been fully self-employed. And to my delight, my YouTube channel and my blog post site are actually bringing customers to me. I spend $0 on advertising, and when I'm doing training, I'm making money. When I'm not doing training, well, then I'm cranking out YouTube videos, and I'm having a lot of fun. And a couple weeks ago, I got to go to the smallest town I've ever been in, Hawesville, Kentucky. Population 1,023 people, which was a little smaller than the town I grew up in. I grew up in Iowa, a town of 5,000. So I know small town life, and it was fun being there and meeting these people.
Yeah. I grew up in a 3,000 town, 3,000 person town in Australia. Our population's lower than you guys, obviously. So our small towns can be really small towns.
Oh, sure. Yeah. A long time ago, I lived in a town that was population 2,000 that was losing 10% of its population every 10 years. So I know what small town life is like, and everybody's business is everybody else's business, but
Well, that's it, but it's a level of community that you sort of miss when you're in a city, I think.
That's right.
I know it's one of those two-edged swords, right? But
it is. In a small town, you know who your neighbors are, and you know what neighborliness is like, and you don't always get that in a big city.
Yeah. Well, I think you don't. I think it's almost impossible. You might have a community group, but it won't be really based on a neighborhood per se. And you might know someone to say hello, your next door neighbor, but you really don't have that level. Anyway,
that's right. Yeah.
But
understood.
But Dale, thank you so much for your time.
Sure. It was fun.
No, good. That's the key. That's the point. So
sure.
I'd love to get you back, because I'm interested to see what your view is going forward with the situation in Microsoft and their work underway. So let's just keep an eye on it and see what we get.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right. Thanks. Good to see you, Simon.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.